Welcome to the Holiday Podcast, where we sit over homemade challah on Friday afternoons at my table. I'm your host, Tammy Priest, a Jewish follower of Jesus, and it's great to be with you again this week as we talk about intersections between the Old and New Covenants. So I've been writing a lot this month about the Levites. They play a big part in the book chapter that I'm working on. And I especially love thinking about the priestly tribe, not just because of my last name, but because it's where my family traces our lineage. And this week it kind of collided with my Bible reading in Mark, the Gospel of Mark. I mentioned last week that I'm reading and praying really slowly through this gospel, kind of fighting against the pace of immediately that Mark uses, right? And yesterday I started to read the passage in chapter 2 about when Jesus called Matthew as a disciple. And I stopped after just one verse 14. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting in the tax office. And he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. So let me tell you why I stopped with just this one verse. Mark tells us that Levi, the son of Alphaeus, better known to us as Matthew, was sitting at a tax booth collecting money for the Roman Empire, taxing his own people to pay their oppressor, and likely overtaxing them. People talk about this perspective a lot in Christian circles, that Matthew's Jewish brethren probably hated him for extorting them, for taking their money to serve Rome. And here's what hit me hard. Because of what Mark calls him, Levi, this apostle was most likely from the tribe of Levi. Some commentators reference this kind of in passing, but this is significant because what this means is that Matthew was born into the tribe that led God's people in worship and who received the tithes from all the people to support them while in ministry. But here we have Matthew taking their money to support the Roman occupation instead of collecting their money to support God's ministry among the people. And it struck me as so sad. So many times we forget that these were real people with real lives and real hurts. And when I read this, I wondered what had led Matthew to choose this path and the alienation that it meant for him. And I also wondered about the anger and the disappointment and the despair that his family must have felt. I mean, I can only imagine the heartbreak and the shame that Matthew's family felt at their son becoming affiliated with Rome. Not only affiliated, but instead of receiving the sacrifices of worship from the people, to be taking their money unfairly on behalf of their oppressors. But we see and we know that Jesus had not written Levi off. Instead, Jesus plucked Levi, Matthew, from his shame and isolation and regrets and brought him close. And Matthew ultimately became a witness to the gospel, a testifier about the Jewish Messiah to the whole world, ministering like a priest through his words in ways no one ever imagined for him, including himself. And so today, as we prepare to rest on this Sabbath Eve, this Challah day, I pray that God would help each of us see beyond our dashed expectations and anger and grief over loved ones who seem so far away. That we would see the person that Jesus sees. That we pray for God to help them make their way or their way back to Him, and that we would love them well wherever they are right now. And I pray that I'd always have this reaction that I first wrote down yesterday when I read this passage, and that we all would. God, I praise you for pursuing people that other people have written off, that you embrace people that others resent. Thank you for calling the most unlikely, like Levi the tax collector, and inviting them, us, into a greater faith than we'd ever imagined or hoped for them and for us, for me. That's my prayer for all of our hearts every day, for a posture of grace and mercy towards others, and especially as we prepare to enter Sabbath rest on this